Hi, welcome back to TexasDirector.org. As you heard in our introduction, this is our Multimedia Director Credentialing Program, and Carrie and I are so excited to share this with you. You met Carrie Casey, and I'm Kate Young, and we are your instructors during your quest to be a Texas early childhood or school-age professional director. Today, we're going to be spending some time talking about goal setting. And this will be follow that same format where you'll hear a presentation by myself. You'll get an opportunity to stop the recording and go ahead and read through your textbook, do your homework assignment. You'll come back and hear Carrie present kind of how to use these goal setting in your program, how to use them not only with your staff, and how you can use your curriculum to move your goals forward. I am excited today because I'm going to give you the tools you need to set and keep your goals. We're going to be looking at why people succeed or fail at goal setting, and we're going to discuss how you can use goal setting with your staff. I have been passionate about goal setting for probably 24 years. And in high school, I knew exactly what I wanted to do for a career, and I'm sure a lot of you have been in that same place. I knew what types of awards I wanted to earn and what types of organizations. I was a Girl Scout, and so I had my mind set on goals. Some of you have brothers, sons, nieces, nephews, uncles. You might have heard of other youth awards that a lot of times kids will set that goal for to earn while they are in high school. However, I didn't learn goal setting in school. It's something that I feel is real important, ought to be taught in schools, but somehow we just don't have time in the day for the kids to learn this process. So I have used goal setting in every aspect of my life, whether it was my career, my education choices, which have changed since high school and college, my family, and of course now my business. And I would suspect that since you're watching this video, you also have made some goals related to your professional career or your business, depending on if you're the director or the owner-operator director. I currently work with my high school age son and helping him identify his goals and what he would like to do to make those happen. I've worked with hundreds of small business owners, nonprofit executives, as well as other professionals, and helping them identify and designing a plan to reach their goals. It's one thing to have a goal, it's another one to have a plan. So sometimes our goals just aren't big enough. Some folks have a goal to lose a little weight, and because it's not a big enough goal, they never get around to losing it. But man, as soon as that weight loss goal is related to health, that's big enough for them and they've lost it, and they'll make that passion, they'll have the drive. So I just want to make sure that whatever goal you set, you remember that it has to be big enough for you. And is your goal big enough? "Excuse me, sir," Alice inquires. "Could you tell me which road to take?" Wisely, the caterpillar asks, "Where are you going?" Somewhat dismayed, Alice responds, "Oh, I don't know where I'm going, sir." "Well," replied the caterpillar, "if you don't know where you're going, it really doesn't matter which road you take." We're going to take a road trip. Goal setting can help in the pursuit of getting to your final destination. Before we go anywhere, a little planning needs to be done. Where do we want to go? I'm going to say we're going to drive from Colorado Springs to Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. How are we going to get there? Are we going to drive? All right, so let's take a drive. So what supplies are we going to take? When you go on a road trip, what do you take with you? Money, snacks, maybe your sunglasses. What's the one thing that we need to make sure we have? A map, or a GPS unit, or some sort of Google direction device. Okay, it could be in your iPhone, or you just need to know how you're going to get there. The easiest way to plan for a trip is with a map. When using a road map, you are in essence setting goals for your trip. You can locate specifically where you're going, and this is your long-term goal. Determining how many planned stops you're going to take along the way. Those are your short-term goals. Tell how many miles to the next destination, and those are your daily goals. For those of you who live in El Paso, you know that Carrie and I live in Austin. That's a long drive from Austin to El Paso. So we'd have to stop and say hi to our folks in the hill country out in Fredericksburg. And probably our first day, we'd probably make sure we at least stopped in Midland, Odessa. We love the folks in Midland, Odessa, but if we're heading to El Paso, we're going to head out that next day. And that daily goal is going to get us probably through Alpine. I'll wave hi to my in-laws. And off to El Paso we go. So each one of those daily goals help us get to our short-term goals. So our short-term goal were places like Midland, Odessa, with our long-term goal being El Paso. And we're excited to be with all of you. If we end up with some crazy weather, then we might have to take an alternate route. So those alternate routes we can look at along the way by our map. They can help us locate some fun tourist spots, and I'm sure y'all know places where we need to stop. And it's going to help us learn along the way, enjoy the journey. If you've ever set a goal and you knew exactly what you wanted to do, if you didn't stop and you didn't have some fun along the way, you may have gotten there quicker, but you may not have enjoyed it. So now let's apply this to your career. Similar questions should be asked of any individual before they take off on their professional journey. Where will they want to be at the end of their career? This is what I call my exit strategy. And you're probably going, how am I even worried about an exit strategy? I'm not even where I want to be. Well, you got to figure out that full loop. So, as a director, figure out what's your ultimate goal. What kind of program do you see yourself working at when you decide you're done? Is this a career for you while your children are young? What are you going to do once your children hit high school? That's a question for you to ask yourself when you're setting your goals. What do you need to do educationally and professionally to reach that goal? Remember I said your goal has to be big enough. Well, if your goal is big enough, then you're going to get really excited about really developing that plan. If your goal is to own your child care program, you may have a desire to spend more time in other programs, a diversity of programs, different types of programs, to see which kind of center you want to own. Maybe your goal is to spend more time in curriculum development, or you have a passion for babies. Share that and develop that goal. You get that opportunity in this class, and we're excited to help you along those ways. For some of you, we are really just a small short-term goal. For others of you, we really are one of the parts of your final destination because your goal isn't big enough. So let's see if we can't make it bigger. We're going to be looking at how and what you need to do for your mental toolbox. Okay, and the mental toolbox is going to help directors plan their professional journey with consistent use of goals. We're going to go over goal setting for programs as well as some exercises for helping you build that career roadmap. Goal setting gives a professional an edge in 3 areas. Goals provide direction, goals provide feedback, and goals motivate. They provide a daily purpose. Identify both your short-term and long-term goals. Identify tasks in addition to outcome goals. Take action. Evaluate your goals. Set both team and individual goals. We're going to take a look at these in a little more detail. But how far should a director look? Effective goal setting entails setting long-term and short-term goals. These goals will identify where you are and how you're going to get there. When planning a vacation, you often think about dream destinations. Where would you go if you had unlimited funds? If you had unlimited ability and you had the time to take it off, where would you go on that vacation? Would you go to Egypt, the Caribbean, or better yet, 2 months in Europe? As with traveling and many other aspects of life, it is a dream. The biggest difference between a dream and a goal is you've put it to paper and you've given it a deadline. In work, it's also fun and important to dream. This is where it's fun to get your staff excited about dreaming as well. Dream goals allow you to project years into the future without any limits. Athletes, for example, might have making an Olympic team as a dream goal. Athletes need to progress from a dream goal to a long-term goal. Long-term goals are typically one season at a time. So as a director, your long-term goal should be and can be 1 year at a time. As on a road trip analogy, this goal is the destination. One way to determine a good long-term goal would be, where do you want to be at the end of the year? Where do you want to be? If you have staff who are working in your program who might be in college or thinking about going back to school, their long-term goal and a great question is, where do they want to be when they're done? When they're done with college, where do they want to be? When you're done with this class, where do you want to be? In order to make a long-term goal seem less daunting, we use short-term goals. Short-term goals are for shorter lengths of time than long-term goals. Usually, a short-term goal might be 2 weeks or even a month. These short-term goals are stepping stones for those long-term goals. Setting short-term goals allow one to monitor success of the long-term goals. A good question to have yourself ask is, where do I want to be at the end of the next month? Have you set that goal? Now, a little later on, we're going to look at goals, and we're going to look at my personal goal setting for change worksheet. This is one of your homework assignments, and we'll get an idea how you can apply this to all the different parts of your life. Short-term goals can often feel far off. Therefore, something within reach helps you stay focused. I've had people give me short-term goals that are 6-month goals. That's not short enough. How are we going to get there in 2 weeks to a month? Stay motivated. What is your reason? This is what you do with daily goals. Why did you wake up this morning? Why did you turn on this video? What are you going to do today at your program to help you reach that long-term goal? Every day, did you greet a parent? Did you answer the phone call? Did you call somebody back who stopped by the program and hasn't enrolled their child yet? Maybe it's curriculum. Maybe you love coming up with new curriculum. Did you work on that today? So those daily goals, ask yourself, why am I getting up and why am I going to work today? That daily goal is going to help you get your short-term goal, which will help you get your long-term goal. Identifying goals and task goals. Effective goal setting necessitates that you have to have both outcome and task goals. If you sit here and say, I'm going to go to work every day, and I'm going to work hard, and I'm going to love being with my students, but your goal is to own your own program, if you've never made a step during those days to your own business, then you're not going to be able to reach those goals. So you've got those task goals, which is getting to work on time, being excited, embracing the things you don't like, and learning every single day. The outcome goals would be things like, I had 10 new families come visit my program today. I've set up all of my social media, and I'm excited about getting online and connecting with parents who are online. Outcome goals are often hard to control because they depend on the ability of not just you, but of other people. If your outcome goal is 10 new families in a month to enroll in your program, those families don't come to the door, then it's a little harder for you to reach that outcome goal. However, you have lots of control over your task goals. If your task goal for getting those families in your program are related to getting more information out about your program, sending press releases about your program, getting out in the community and networking with other people so they know that your program exists, that's stuff that you can do. Task goals are what you have to do, physically and mentally, in order to accomplish your outcome goals. Task goals include being aggressive, but not too aggressive, with your parents, following up with them, making sure that they know that you want them in their program. Now, do you want every parent in your program? No. So this is your opportunity to really think hard about, is this family a right match for our program? Now we're going to talk about parent communication in 2 more sections. Goal setting is going to be followed by time management, which as you can already tell, they're pretty close and hand in hand. We're going to follow that with parent communication, and you're going to see how time management and goal setting work with parent communication. You're going to hear about goal setting and time management in every chapter we discuss. It's important to us, and it needs to be important to you. If you set a goal that nothing but the best is good enough, then remember that every time you hire a staff person, every time you meet a family. What kind of family do you want in your program? That's the type of goal you need to set. Getting 10 families is easy. Getting 10 of the best families, now there's a goal. Effective goal setting must involve not just a roadmap, but a strategy to keep those goals real and on a consistent basis, without much of any prodding from other folks. We're not around. If you really want, you can turn this video on and I'll be happy to poke. But you need to be able to set your goals and move forward because they're big enough and they're important to you. If they're not important to you, then why are you doing them? Make sure these goals are goals that you want to be involved with. You may not have a supervisor who can help you move those goals forward. It's all going to be up to you. Now, back to that athlete scenario, and we talked about athletes wanting to go on to the Olympics. If you were an athlete and you wanted to swim, and that's a sport that a lot of us can at least understand, we know somebody who swims. We may not know somebody who swims competitively, and probably very few of us know anybody who swims on a level that they can see themselves being in the Olympics. However, swimming has lots of parts, and they have to swim for time, and they have to improve their stroke, their swimming stroke. Coaches are there to help the swimmers progress from setting long-term and short-term goals to actually acting on these goals. You don't have a swim team coach blowing his whistle at you and getting you up and getting you excited. Now, a lot of professionals have coaches, so don't get me wrong. We would be happy to help find you a coach if you felt your goal was the type of goal that you needed somebody else to help keep you motivated. We often encourage you to just let people know what your goals are. Put them on paper, get them out there, and the more people you tell about your goals, the more people are going to ask you how you came. Do you really want to go to that Christmas party with your uncle and have not reached your goal? If you told your uncle, yeah, in 3 years I see myself opening a child care center, and in 3 years you haven't done it, I bet you Uncle Jim is going to ask you about it. Once a goal-setting map has been established, the next critical piece is to keep yourself accountable to these goals. Doing this is largely a matter of creativity and finding a means of accountability that will work for you. Sometimes it's setting weekly goal-setting forms. I use a Franklin Covey planner. I've been using a Franklin Covey planner since I was 17. That was a long time ago. So other people set charts. So if you're real visual and you want a goal chart, put that goal chart out there. I've had friends who take pictures of what it is that they want. They put those pictures out there on their refrigerator. We talked about verbalizing those goals, making those goals public. Let people know what your goal is. Speak as though that goal's already happened. If you're going to have the best program in your community, then start telling everybody you're going to have the best program in your community. Get people excited about it. Get your staff excited about it. Get your family excited about it. Now, we've talked about setting goals, and one of the things we talked about is that you can use goals to help evaluate your progress. And so, effective goal setting requires that you regularly evaluate the progress towards their goals. Success along the way is awesome. But if you need to modify those goals because something happens that is beyond your control, could be weather, could be economics, could be a major employer in your community has just laid off a couple hundred folks. Those are beyond your control. So you may have to modify your goals. Back to that roadmap analogy. We're leaving Colorado and we're on our way to Myrtle Beach. Suppose you take off bright and early one morning with your trusty roadmap. On one day, your goal is to make it to St. Louis by sundown. However, outside of Kansas City, there was an accident, and you ended up sitting in traffic for 2 hours. At that point, if ever, will you stop to assess your progress and reevaluate your goals? Hopefully, right? Because you're not going to make it. Again, sometimes you just might be sick. You might have staff who are sick. If you have staff who are sick, sometimes you're the substitute. So you need to be in a classroom. And if you're in a classroom, it's going to be really hard for you to market your program. If we were going to be looking at that swimmer, okay, we've talked about the roadmap. We've talked about that athlete. So we're going to look at that swimmer. If his goal was to improve his time and he had a shoulder problem, he's going to have to take time off and get that shoulder better. If he doesn't get that shoulder better, it's going to be really, really hard to get his time. Okay, so his original goal is going to have to change, and so will yours. Goals are meant to provide direction, give feedback on progress, and to motivate. To ensure they serve this purpose, goals must also be flexible. It is necessary to evaluate the goals at different times along your long-term goal. That's part of an advantage of short-term goals. It's part of the advantage of daily goals. If you don't make something happen, that daily goal, sit down, take a look and go, hey, what do I need to do to change this? What do I need to do? Can I do 2 things tomorrow? If I can't do 2 things tomorrow, is one more important than the other? Can I still reach my short-term goal? Be flexible. It's up to you. It's your goal. Team goal setting. Team goal setting. And I'm not just talking about that athlete. I'm talking about you and your staff. Getting some goals that your staff can get behind is also real exciting. Goals that your parents can get behind. Very, very exciting, and does a lot of wonderful things for your program. Give your staff an opportunity to be supported by the group and by the group goals. And it's also about their own individual pursuits. If you have staff who've been with you for 5 or 10 years, ask yourself why. What are their goals? I love long-term staff, don't get me wrong, and sometimes their goal is to be the best infant teacher they can ever be. They're the best infant teacher in the world. But help make sure that everybody knows they're the best infant teacher. Use this in your marketing and in your selling points. Get them out there. Share their experience with other folks. The goal setting terms thus far have been referenced to individual goals. Individual goals are very important, but it's also important to set team goals or staff goals. What are your staff goals or your team goals? What's your program goals? Are your program goals to be accredited? Are you designed or have a goal to set a certain standard? Do you just want to have a full program and you want to have a good wait list? whatever those programs are, whatever those goals are, tell your staff. Get your staff involved. Get your parents involved. Most successful people say that part of the reason for their success is because they've practiced goal setting in their personal and professional life. We've talked today about professional goals. However, goal setting is typically not taught in education institutions. And when is it used most? In most cases, it's not practiced effectively. We want you to get an opportunity to set those goals and to practice them as you move through our program. There are a variety of reasons why directors should practice goal setting. Once the goals are set, they help to keep staff and the director focused on the items that were identified as important. What's important to you? What's important to your program? We're going to talk about things called monkeys here in the next section, and I hope you'll have fun and you'll understand kind of what we mean when we say, that's not your monkey. So as we get to that point, we've got a couple more sections we need to get through, and then we're going to spend some time talking about monkeys. Goals give the staff a clear picture of what the expectations are and where they need to focus their energy. Okay? Do you have staff who sometimes go, that's not my job? But if your goal is to have the best program, does it really matter whose job it is if the goal is for a better program? Getting their involvement, if you want to give them something to strive for, you don't have to do it all. Get them involved. Help them motivate. Help them understand that when you guys all reach that goal and you've all accomplished that goal, it's best for all of you. Finally, an important argument for using goal setting in the workplace that should not be overlooked is that it teaches staff how to practice goal setting. Right now, I need you to pause this video and go read the goal setting section in your textbook. Complete the goal setting for change assignment. Don't forget to sign and date the assignment. Make this promise to yourself. You will send this assignment into us, and we'll remind you in 60 days of this goal.